The great hall was silent. Park Yuna stood alone in the center of the council chamber. Around her, 12 alien species watched from their raised seats. Their eyes held no warmth. Their faces showed no mercy. Yuna had served as Earth's ambassador for 15 years. She had learned their languages. She had studied their customs. She had tried so hard to make them see humanity as friends. But today, all of that meant nothing. The Velocity High Speaker rose from his throne. His skin was pale blue and his eyes were completely black. He was the most powerful being in the galaxy, and he had always hated humans. "The Council has made its decision," he said. His voice echoed through the crystal walls. "Humanity is guilty of crimes against galactic order." Yuna kept her face calm, but her heart was breaking. "You have spread dangerous ideas," the High Speaker continued. "You have shared sacred technology with lower species. You have refused to accept your place in the natural order. You breed too fast. You ask too many questions. You are chaos." Behind Yuna, the human delegation listened in silence. There were scientists who had cured alien diseases. There were engineers who had fixed broken ships for free. There were doctors who had saved thousands of alien lives. None of that mattered now. "Humanity is hereby banished from galactic space," the High Speaker declared. "All jump gates connecting to your soul system will be closed. You will remain in your home system until you learn humility. This exile has no end date." A murmur went through the chamber. Some aliens looked pleased. Others looked away in shame. The Marath representative, a kind female named Velshi, had tears in her strange silver eyes. Yuna took a deep breath. She had prepared for this moment. She knew it might come. "May I speak?" she asked. The High Speaker waved his hand lazily. "If you must." Yuna turned slowly, looking at each council member. She saw the Velothi in their expensive robes. She saw the Keth merchants counting their coins even now. She saw the warrior races who respected only strength. She saw the small species who had been kind to humans but were too afraid to speak up. 50 years ago, we discovered we were not alone, Yuna began. Her voice was steady and clear. "We looked up at the stars and found you. We were so happy. We thought we had found a family." She paused, letting her words sink in. "We came to you with open hands. We shared everything we had. Our medicine, our music, our stories, our laughter. We asked for nothing except friendship. We wanted to learn. We wanted to grow. We wanted to stand beside you as equals." The High Speaker made a sound of disgust. "Equals, you see? This is exactly the problem. Is it?" Yuna asked. "Is it so wrong to believe that all thinking beings have value? Is it so dangerous to treat a shopkeeper with the same respect as a king?" "You do not understand," a Keth merchant spoke up. "There is an order to things. The Velothi lead. The Keth trade. The warriors fight. The small ones serve. This is how it has always been. This is how it must be. And where do humans fit in your order?" Yuna asked. "Nowhere," the High Speaker said coldly. "That is the point." Yuna nodded slowly. She had expected this answer. "Then we will go," she said. "We will return to our little corner of the galaxy. We will close our doors and mind our own business." She began to walk toward the exit, then stopped. She turned back one final time. "But remember this day," she said. Her voice had changed. It was no longer sad. It was hard like iron. "Remember how you pushed away the only species that ever offered you true friendship. Remember how you chose fear over hope." The High Speaker laughed. "Are you threatening us, little human?" "No," Yuna said. "I am making a prediction. Someday, something will come. Something you cannot fight alone. Something that does not care about your orders and your ranks and your precious hierarchy. And on that day, you will remember the humans. You will remember that we came in peace and you sent us away in shame. She looked directly at the high speaker. On that day, you will wish you had not made this choice. The chamber was completely silent. No one moved. No one spoke. Yuna walked out without looking back. Captain Lee Taiho was waiting for her at the transport dock. He was a tall man with gray hair and kind eyes. He had commanded human ships for 30 years. Now he would command the last one to leave galactic space. How did it go? He asked, though he already knew. It is done, Yuna said. We are going home. Taiho nodded. Around them, humans were boarding shuttles. Scientists carried their research. Families held their children close. Soldiers stood guard, watching the alien crowd that had gathered to watch them leave. Some aliens jeered and threw things. Others watched in silence. A few, very few, waved goodbye with sadness in their eyes. The homeward dawn is ready, Taiho said. All human vessels have been recalled. We can leave within the hour. Yuna looked up at the alien sky. She had spent 15 years under these strange stars. She had made friends here. She had built a life. Now it was all gone. Captain, she said quietly, do you think I was too harsh? My final words? Taiho shook his head. No, Ambassador. I think you told them the truth. Whether they believe, it is another matter. They boarded the shuttle together. An hour later, the homeward dawn passed through the last jump gate. Behind them, the gate powered down and went dark. Earth was waiting, and humanity had work to do. For 50 years, the galaxy heard nothing from humanity. The alien races celebrated. They held festivals to mark the day the troublesome humans were sent away. The Velothi High Speaker gave speeches about purity and order. The Keth merchants raised their prices now that human competition was gone. Everything went back to the way it had always been. The old hierarchies grew stronger. The powerful became more powerful. The weak became weaker. And no one asked questions anymore, because there were no humans left to ask them. But in the Sol system, behind the closed gates, something remarkable was happening. Dr. Cho Minji stood in front of a room full of the smartest people on Earth. She was 60 years old, with white hair and sharp eyes. She had spent her whole career studying alien technology, trying to understand how it worked. Now she had a new mission. They gave us scraps, she told the scientists. Old engines, outdated computers, medical equipment that was 100 years behind their best. They never wanted us to catch up. They wanted us to stay small and grateful. She pressed a button and a hologram appeared. It showed the jump gate technology that the aliens used to travel between stars. We cannot build these, Minji said. We do not have the materials. We do not have the knowledge. The gates were a gift, and now the gift has been taken away. A young scientist raised his hand. Then how will we ever leave the solar system again? Minji smiled. It was not a happy smile. It was the smile of someone who had been underestimated her whole life. We will build something better, she said. We will start from the beginning. We will ask questions no one has asked. We will find answers no one has found. And when we are done, we will not need their gates. She called it the Prometheus Initiative, named after the old Greek god who brought fire to humanity. The project brought together scientists from every country on Earth. They shared everything. They hid nothing. They worked together like humanity had never worked before. The first 10 years were hard. Many experiments failed. Many scientists gave up. But Minji never stopped pushing. The aliens had 1,000,000 years to develop their technology. She reminded her team, we have decades. So we must be smarter. We must be braver. We must do what they say is impossible. And slowly they did. In the 15th year, a young physicist named Bei Sunho discovered a new way to bend space. It was not like the alien jump gates. It was something completely new. Something human. We can fold space around a ship, Sunho explained excitedly. We do not need gates. We can go anywhere. Everywhere. Minji hugged him. It was the first time anyone had seen her cry. By year 20, the first human ship traveled faster than light without using a gate. By year 30, they had engines that could cross the galaxy in weeks instead of months. By year 40, they had weapons that could crack planets and shields that could stop them. But they did not build these things for war. Admiral Kang, GA, commanded the new human fleet. She was a serious woman with a calm voice and eyes that had seen too much. She had been a young officer during the expulsion. She remembered the shame of being sent away. We will defend ourselves, she told her captains. We will protect every human world. But we will not attack first. We will not become what they feared we were. Massive defense platforms were built around Earth, Mars, and the colony worlds. Automated stations watched the borders day and night. If anyone came through those dead gates, humanity would be ready. But Jihei hoped they never would. I do not want revenge, she told Minji one night. As they watched Earth turn slowly below the orbital station. I want something better. I want our children to grow up in a galaxy that respects them. Do you think that is possible? Minji asked. I do not know, Jihei admitted. But I know this. We must be ready for whatever comes. Good or bad. On a small research station orbiting Neptune, Sunho made another discovery. He was older now, with gray in his hair and lines on his face. But his mind was still sharp. He had built a machine that could look into other dimensions. Not to travel there, but to see what was moving through the spaces between spaces. At first, he saw nothing. Empty darkness. The cold void that surrounded normal reality. Then, one day, he saw something else. It was massive. Bigger than any ship. Bigger than any planet. It moved slowly through the dimension between dimensions, heading toward the center of the galaxy. Sunho watched it for 3 days. He ran every test he could think of. He checked his equipment again and again. But the result was always the same. Something was coming. Something hungry. Something that did not care about borders or gates or politics. He sent an urgent message to Dr. Cho Minji. Director, he said, his voice shaking, you need to see this. I have found something in subspace. It is heading for the galactic core. And Director, I think it eats stars. Minji watched the recording in silence. Her old face grew pale. How long until it reaches populated space? She asked. At its current speed? 5 years. Maybe 6. Minji closed her eyes. For a moment, she looked very tired. Then she straightened her back and lifted her chin. Tell no one else yet, she ordered. We need to confirm this. And then, we need to decide what to do. Will we warn them? Sunho asked. The aliens who threw us out. Minji was quiet for a long time. That, she finally said, will not be my decision to make. She turned to look out the window at the distant stars. Somewhere out there, the galaxy was going about its business. The Velothi were ruling. The Keth were trading. The small species were serving. They had no idea what was coming, and they had no idea that the only ones who could see it were the humans they had tried to forget. The Keth homeworld was a planet of gold and silver. Great cities rose into the sky. Ships filled the air like metal birds. The Keth were the richest species in the galaxy, and they loved to show it. On a normal day, 3 million ships would orbit their world. Merchants came from everywhere to trade. The Keth welcomed them all, as long as they had money. But this was not a normal day. it came from nowhere. One moment, the sky was full of stars. The next moment, half those stars were gone. Something was blocking them. Something vast and dark and hungry. The Keth Defense Fleet moved to investigate. 300 warships, the finest money could buy. Their commanders were confident. They had the best weapons, the best shields, the best training. They lasted 4 minutes. No one saw exactly what happened. The ships simply vanished. Their signals stopped. Their lights went out. And the darkness kept coming. Panic spread through the Keth cities. People ran for their ships. They pushed and fought and screamed. Families were separated. Children cried for their parents. The rich tried to buy their way to safety, but money meant nothing now. The darkness touched the planet. Where it touched, things disappeared. Not destroyed, not burned, just gone. Buildings vanished. People vanished. Mountains vanished. The darkness ate everything and was never satisfied. Within 6 hours, the Keth homeworld was empty. Nothing remained but cold rock floating in space. The survivors fled in every direction. They sent desperate messages to anyone who would listen. But the words were always the same. It is coming. Run. The Galactic Council gathered in emergency session. The great chamber that had once exiled humanity was now filled with fear. The High Speaker stood at his throne, but his voice was not steady. What do we know about this thing? He demanded. A Velothi scientist stepped forward. Her name was Killeth, and she was shaking. We know very little, she admitted. It appeared from subspace without warning. It does not communicate. It does not negotiate. It does not stop. We have tried scanning it, but our instruments cannot penetrate its surface. We only know what it does. And what does it do? Asked a Morth representative. It consumes, Killeth said simply. Matter, energy, light, everything that touches it is absorbed. We have started calling it the Devourer. The chamber erupted in frightened voices. Council members shouted at each other. Some demanded action. Others demanded answers. A few were already planning their escape. The High Speaker raised his hand for silence. Deploy the Grand Fleet, he ordered. Every member species will contribute their military forces. We will meet this Devourer in battle and destroy it. High Speaker, Killeth said carefully. We do not know if our weapons can hurt it. Then we will find out. The High Speaker replied. We are the masters of this galaxy. We will not run from a shadow. The Grand Fleet was the largest military force ever assembled. Thousands of warships from 12 species. Millions of soldiers. The combined might of 100 civilized worlds. Admiral Torvax of the Velothi commanded the fleet. He was old and experienced and had never lost a battle. He looked at his forces and felt proud. Today, we saved the galaxy, he told his captains. Today, we prove our worth. They met the Devourer at the edge of Velothi space. It hung in the void like a hole in reality. Stars disappeared behind it. Light bent around its edges. It was so large that the fleet looked like insects beside a mountain. All ships, open fire, Torvax commanded. The Grand Fleet unleashed everything it had. Plasma beams, nuclear missiles, gravity bombs, weapons that could crack planets and tear holes in space. The barrage was beautiful and terrible. The Devourer did not even slow down. Impossible, Torvax whispered. The darkness reached out. Ships began to vanish. Not one at a time, but dozens, hundreds. Their screams filled the communication channels. Captains called for help that would never come. Soldiers prayed to gods who did not answer. Admiral Torvax watched his fleet die around him. 6 hours ago, he had commanded the greatest military force in galactic history. Now he commanded ghosts. His own ship shuddered as the darkness touched it. The lights flickered. The walls began to fade. "Send a message to the council," he ordered, his voice calm. Tell them I am sorry." Then he was gone. When the battle was over, less than 7% of the Grand Fleet survived. The Devourer continued its slow march toward the galactic core. It did not celebrate. It did not gloat. It simply moved forward, eating everything in its path. The survivors fled back to the council world. They brought recordings of the battle. They brought tales of horror. They brought the understanding that nothing in their power could stop what was coming. The High Speaker watched the recordings in silence. His hands trembled. His skin, normally pale blue, was almost white. "What do we do now?" asked Representative Velshi of the Morith. Her voice was gentle. "Our fleet is destroyed. Our weapons are useless. What options remain?" No one answered. The council chamber, once so proud and confident, was now just a room full of frightened leaders waiting to die. Then the High Speaker did something he had never done before. Something that went against everything he believed. "Contact the humans," he said quietly. "High Speaker?" A Velothi aide looked shocked. "Contact the humans," the High Speaker repeated. "Find their border ambassador. Tell her we need to talk." "But High Speaker, we exiled them. We closed the gates. I know what we did." The High Speaker's voice cracked. "I remember every word. But right now, they are the only ones who might help us. And if they refuse—" He paused, staring at the image of the Devourer on the screen. "If they refuse, we deserve whatever comes next." The message went out across the cold, empty space between the stars. 50 years of silence was about to end. Ambassador Han Yunji was 73 years old. She had spent the last 30 years watching the dead gate that once connected human space to the rest of the galaxy. It was a quiet job. Nothing ever happened until today. The communication came through an old emergency channel that no one had used in decades. The signal was weak and full of static, but the words were clear enough. "Human vessel, this is the Galactic Council. We request immediate contact with your government. This is urgent. Please respond." Yunji stared at the message for a full minute. Then she started to laugh. She laughed until tears ran down her wrinkled face. 30 years, she said to her empty office. 30 years of silence, and now they want to talk. She composed herself and opened the channel. On the screen appeared a face she had never expected to see again. The Velothi High Speaker. He looked older. He looked tired. He looked afraid. "Ambassador Han," he said stiffly. "Thank you for responding." "High Speaker, this is unexpected." "Yes, well." He struggled with the words. The Velothi pride was legendary, and what he had to say went against everything he was. "We require assistance." "I am sorry, I did not quite catch that." "You require what?" The High Speaker's jaw tightened. "Assistance. Help. We need humanity's help." Yunji let the silence stretch. She wanted him to feel every second of it. "May I ask why?" She finally said, "The last time we spoke, you called us animals. You called us chaos. You said we had no place in the galaxy. Things have changed." "Have they?" "Ambassador." The High Speaker leaned forward. "There's something coming. Something that cannot be stopped. It has already destroyed the Keth homeworld. It has destroyed our Grand Fleet. It will reach the core worlds within months. Billions will die. Trillions." Yunji nodded slowly. "We know. You know. We have been watching it for 5 years. We call it the Devourer. We have been studying it, preparing for it, while you were busy celebrating our exile." The High Speaker's face showed shock, then anger, then something like shame. "You knew and you said nothing? Would you have listened?" Would you have believed the species you threw away like garbage? Yoonji shook her head. No, you would have laughed at us. You would have called it human lies. So we stayed quiet and we got ready. Ready for what? Ready to survive. Ready to watch you die. Yoonji paused. Or ready to help, if you asked nicely enough. The high speaker was silent for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice was very small. Then, will you help us? That is not my decision to make, Yoonji said. I will pass your message to our government. They will decide. But high speaker, this will not be free. And it will not be on your terms. She ended the transmission. 3 weeks later, the human fleet arrived at the Velothi capital. The aliens who gathered to watch were stunned. They expected old ships, broken technology, a desperate species coming to beg for readmission to the galactic community. Instead, they saw power. The human vessels were unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. They were sleek and silver, moving through space like fish through water. They made no sound. They bent light around them like cloaks. The smallest human ship was larger than the biggest Velothi warship. At the center of the fleet was the flagship New Dawn. It was beautiful and terrifying. Its hull was covered in symbols that no alien could read. Its engines glowed with strange blue fire. Fleet Admiral Yoon Hajin stood on the bridge, looking at the alien world below. He was 50 years old, with his grandmother's eyes and his grandfather's determination. Park Yuna had been his grandmother. He had grown up hearing stories of the expulsion. Admiral, his communications officer said, the council requests your presence in their chamber. Hajun smiled slightly. Just me? They said you can bring guards if you wish. No. Hajun straightened his uniform. I will go alone. Just like my grandmother did all those years ago. He transported down to the surface. The council chamber was exactly as the old recording showed. The same crystal walls. The same raised seats. The same arrogant faces looking down at the human in the center. But now those faces were afraid. Admiral Yoon, the high speaker said, we welcome you. Do you? Hajun looked around the room. I recognize this place. My grandmother stood where I am standing now. You looked down at her just like you are looking down at me. You called her people animals. You called them chaos. Things were different then. Were they? Or are you just scared now? The high speaker had no answer. Hajun continued. You need us. After you threw us away. After you tried to make us small. After you closed the gates and hoped we would die alone in the dark. Now you need us. Representative Velshi of the Morith spoke up. Her voice was soft and sad. Not all of us agreed with the expulsion. Some of us fought against it. Some of us wept when you left. I know, Hajun said, more gently. My grandmother told me about the Morith. She said you were kind. Will you help us? Velshi asked. Not for the council. Not for the Velothi. For the ordinary people who did nothing wrong. For the children who were not even born when you were exiled. Hajun was quiet for a long moment. He thought about his grandmother, who had died still hoping for a better galaxy. He thought about his parents, who had worked their whole lives building the human fleet. He thought about the billions of aliens who would die if the Devourer was not stopped. Humanity will fight, he finally said. Not because you deserve it. Many of you do not. We will fight because we are human. Because we cannot watch innocents die and do nothing. Because my grandmother believed in a galaxy where all species could live as equals. He looked directly at the high speaker. But there will be a price. Name it. Equality. Real equality, not just words. Permanent seats on the Council for Humans. Free movement and trade. An end to the caste systems that keep some species down. And a formal apology broadcast to every world, admitting what you did to humanity and why it was wrong. The high speaker stiffened. That is difficult. Then handle the devourer yourself. Hajun turned to leave. Wait. The word burst from the high speaker like a cry of pain. We accept. All of it. Just, please, help us. Hajun paused at the door. He did not turn around. Prepare your remaining forces. Humanity is going to war. And this time, we will not be fighting alone. He walked out of the chamber, leaving a room full of beings who had just learned a very old lesson. Pride comes before the fall, but mercy can come after. The Joint Command Center was something new. Humans and aliens working side by side, sharing information, making plans together. 50 years ago, such a thing would have been impossible. Now it was necessary. Dr. Cho Minji stood before the gathered leaders. She was 85 years old now, her hair pure white, her body frail. But her mind was still sharp as ever. We have been studying the Devourer for 5 years, she said, and we have learned something important. It is not alive. Admiral Yoon Hajun leaned forward. What do you mean? It is a weapon, Minji explained. Very old. Maybe millions of years old. Built by a species that no longer exists for a war that ended long ago. But the weapon did not stop. It is still following its last orders. Consume, grow, consume again. It does not think. It does not feel. It just does what it was made to do. Can we destroy it? The high speaker asked. No, it absorbs all energy. Our weapons only feed it, but... Minji paused, a small smile on her face. We can redirect it. She showed them the data. The Devourer responded to certain frequencies in subspace. The right signal, at the right strength, could change its direction. Send it away from the galactic core, away from all populated space, into the empty void between galaxies, where it could eat nothing but darkness forever. We have built a signal generator, Minji said. But there is a problem. The signal must come from inside the Devourer's event horizon. That is the only way it will work. Inside? Hajun understood immediately. That is a suicide mission. Yes, Minji said softly. Someone must fly a shuttle into the heart of the Devourer and activate the signal. There is no guarantee they will survive. Silence filled the room. Everyone understood what was being asked. Then a young woman stood up. Lieutenant Song Ji-woo was only 26 years old. She had short, dark hair and steady eyes. She had joined the fleet because she wanted to help people. This was her chance. I will do it, she said. Hajun shook his head. Lieutenant, you have your whole life ahead of you. So do the trillions of people the Devourer will eat if we do nothing. Ji-woo smiled gently. My grandmother used to tell me stories about the expulsion. She said humans left the galaxy with their heads high because they knew who they were. Good people. Brave people. People who help others even when it hurts. She looked around the room at the alien faces watching her. If I can save them all of them, then my life means something. Please, let me do this. No one could argue with her. The mission launched 2 days later. 20 human ships escorted Ji-woo's shuttle. But they were not alone. Ships from 6 alien species joined them. Volunteers who wanted to help. Volunteers who wanted to prove that not all aliens had forgotten what the humans taught them. The Morith, Cruise of Gratitude, flew at the front. Its captain was a young female named Selvi. She was Representative Velshi's daughter. She had grown up hearing stories about the humans her mother had loved. Today we fight together, Selvi transmitted to the fleet. Today we show the galaxy what courage looks like. The Devourer waited for them like a wound in space. It was bigger than anything they had ever seen. Stars vanished behind its black surface. Ships looked like dust specks against its body. All ships, engage defensive formation, ordered Captain O'Done from his cruiser Perseverance. Protect the shuttle at all costs. The battle began. The Devourer did not fight like a normal enemy. It simply expanded, reaching out with tendrils of darkness. Ships touched by those tendrils disappeared. Screens filled the communication channels. But the fleet kept pushing forward. One by one, ships fell. Human and alien alike, sacrificing themselves to buy Jiwoo more time. The Perseverance took a direct hit, protecting her flank. Captain Dawn's last words were, "Keep going. Do not stop for us." Jiwoo watched her screen as the numbers dropped. 20 ships became 15. 15 became 10. 10 became 5. And still the event horizon was so far away. Then something wonderful happened. The Gratitude accelerated to maximum speed. It placed itself directly between Jiwoo's shuttle and a massive tendril that would have destroyed her. "What are you doing?" Jiwoo screamed into her communicator. Captain Selvi's voice was calm. "What we should have done 50 years ago. We are standing beside our friends." The tendril struck the Gratitude. The ship shuddered and began to fade. "For humanity," Selvi transmitted. "For showing us what courage looks like." Then she was gone. But her sacrifice had worked. The path was clear. Jiwoo's shuttle crossed the event horizon. Inside, everything was dark. Her instruments went crazy. Her communications died. She was alone with the heart of the Devourer. She could feel it around her. Cold, empty, hungry. It wanted to consume her, just like it had consumed everything else. "Not today," she whispered. She activated the signal generator. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the Devourer began to shake. Its tendrils pulled back. Its massive body turned, slowly at first, then faster. It was working. Outside the event horizon, the surviving ships watched in amazement. The Devourer was moving, changing direction, heading away from the galactic core toward the empty void between galaxies. "She did it," someone whispered. "The human did it." The Devourer vanished into the darkness between the stars. It did not stop. It did not turn back. It simply faded away like a bad dream ending. And in the silence that followed, the galaxy began to cheer. On the council world, billions watched the news in disbelief. The monster was gone. They were saved. Saved by a young human woman who had given everything so that strangers could live. 6 months later, a memorial was built on the Velothi capital. A simple pillar of black stone covered with names. Human names and alien names, side by side. All the beings who had died stopping the Devourer. Lieutenant Song Ji-woo's name was at the top. Ambassador Park Somi, granddaughter of Park Yuna, who had been expelled 50 years ago, stood before the memorial with the former High Speaker. He had resigned in disgrace, but human doctors had saved his life when his hearts began to fail. "Do you understand now?" Somi asked him. "Why we came back. Why we could not just watch you die." The old Velothi touched a Morth name on the pillar. Captain Selvi, the one who had called humans friends at the very end. "You could have let us die," he said. "No one would have blamed you." "Some wanted to," Somi admitted. "But my grandmother taught me something. She said the measure of a species is not how they treat their friends. It is how they treat those who have wronged them." She looked up at the alien sky, the same sky her grandmother had seen all those years ago. "We are not better than you because we are stronger. We are what we are because we choose to be, because we refuse to let hate make us into something ugly." Across the galaxy, the old hierarchies were crumbling. Species that had been kept down for thousands of years were asking questions. If the humans say we deserve equality, maybe they are right. If the humans can forgive those who hurt them, maybe we can forgive each other on Earth. Children learned about the Devourer War. They learned about Lieutenant Song Ji-woo, whose body was never found but whose name would live forever. They learned about Captain Selvey, the alien who died calling humans friends. And they learned the most important lesson of all. Humanity's greatest weapon was not their technology or their ships or their science. It was hope. It was love. It was the stubborn belief that tomorrow could be better than today. And no one could ever take that away.